Animal Farm is a new children's movie about communism? Yeah, that's right. Let's talk about whether you should take your kids to see this movie. So this is an Angel Studios movie. Angel Studios is known for having being friendly to faith movies, Christian movies, as well as a lot of family-friendly movies, right? And so when I saw that they were putting out this movie, and then at the end of the trailer, it even recommended 11 years old and older, and there was about communism. And it said it was a cautionary tale. Cautionary tale. I was like, what is all this? I got to review this movie, right? So it is fairly straightforward. It is basically just a movie showing what can happen in the government in a bad way. Okay. And I believe they put that 11 years old and older thing on there because they want your kid to actually understand what's going on. If your kid is too young, they're just going to think it was a sad movie. Okay. So we'll talk about the communism thing here in a minute. I just want to get a couple quick things out of the way that some other things that parents may or may not object to. First of all, there's a couple crude humor moments. One moment of farting, which is called out as such and is very loud and very long. Okay. And then there are two moments of butt shaking where, like, basically a pig says, "They want my ham," and he wiggles his butt, and think that kind of thing. Okay. Um, kind of, I guess it'd be rude joke, less so than crude if crude was on a more intense version of rude. Okay. A character says "what the oink" at once. That is a swear replacement word, right? They said oink instead of swear. I have a full video on that topic if you want to watch that, but basically swear replacement words come from the same heart posture, right? So we don't want to be encouraging that with our children. Now, that said, oh, they also said sexy once, and they called boyfriend, girlfriend, babe once or twice, or maybe three times. So, all that said, those things I mentioned, they are some of the more tamer versions of that. So whenever I've seen these kind of things in children's movies, a lot of times it's much more gross, much more obvious, much more whatever. They were fairly tame versions of that. So that is to be known. They do have alcohol, and they call it naughty juice. It's never referred to as alcohol. They are shown drinking it, but never out of alcoholic bottles. They are shown drinking it out of like, your plastic red Solo cup kind of thing. The animals are never shown drunk. They are shown drinking, but they are never shown drunk, and that is to conform with this status of elitism and to put forth a like show peer pressure. Okay, there was alcohol consumed under peer pressure in this movie, right? So definitely not something you want for really little kids to. Nothing you want to take your really little kids to. Oh my. Okay. The farmer in the beginning, though, is obviously drunk. Now, obviously to an adult. Kids who have never been around that, are they going to pick up on that? I don't know. Um, they they have him, he's kind of like belligerent and sloshy speech and that kind of thing, sloshy movements. He does look kind of scary. Not scary to an 11-year-old like they recommend 11-year-olds, but 5, 6-year-olds. Again, don't take your really little kids to see this one. Um, and the only kind of major hint that happens, I thought he was just kind of odd, right? But he hits something that falls over, and then he makes like a clanking bottle sound. Okay, I get it. You're going for drunk. And then later, just a couple minutes later, the animals go into the farmhouse, and then they call it naughty juice. So naughty juice is a key factor in this. It is one of the rules that they write down as part of their society, no naughty juice, and that rule was broken, as well as every other rule. But that rule is eventually broken. So there is that. Alcohol is in this film prominently, let's say. And then I think the only other thing to mention here in this section is they look up to the stars in a meditative kind of way. This did not seem to be this great spiritualist kind of thing, although there was, they might have alluded to like, oh, you're the ones who have passed on before us guide us, or they're up in the heavens, or up in the stars, something like that. It seems to mostly just be they sit, they reflect. It is their peaceful, their calming kind of way. They dream, that kind of thing, while looking up at the sky. That is referenced a couple times. Now, as for those are the kind of basic objectionable kind of things that I would talk about in any movie review. This one is interesting and unique because most children's movies, the hero wins. There's some kind of, cool story. There's something like that, right? This is different. This is just bad. Now, I don't mean bad as in it's done terribly. I mean bad as in the the characters are not in a great spot to begin with, so they revolt, and then they think they have kind of like a utopia thing kind of going on, and then it's just this slow degradation of the entire thing until eventually it collapses and they revolt again, and they're kind of back where they started, and that's it. One of the characters dies in the process. Okay, one of the ones that we like. One of the good characters, let's call it that way, right? He dies along the way, and so it's just kind of like there's not much positive in this movie as far as that goes. Now, they do put on the poster a cautionary tale, and I think that is the point of the movie, okay? It's to show bad and like, hey, don't do this, okay? So it can have its purpose, just like documentaries can have their purpose. And I think this movie would shine most showing to your homeschool kids, showing to your high school classroom, okay, and then having a discussion afterwards, ideally tied to some kind of communism, socialism, whatever you want to call. I'm not going to argue whether they nailed it to a T to the dictionary definition, but we do see revolution, corruption, and then terrible things happening, like they ran out of food, okay, which has been patterns throughout history, right? So label it whatever you want. This is a movie about government and whenever it goes bad. All right. And I think it works for kids because at every stage where there's something going on, they're explaining it to the kids through context, right? They're talking about what's going on. So a character, whenever they're being manipulative, right, a character objects. Whenever they rewrite those rules, so they establish, it was like 4 rules for society, for their animal society. Whenever they establish them, and then subsequently they get broken, and they get more than broken, they get rewritten, okay? They literally get rewritten. A word is added to change the meaning, something is crossed out, and something else is written instead, okay? These rules are literally changed and literally rewritten. And that is a way to show the audience, make sure the audience is keeping track of what's going on, okay? Not getting lost. When there's manipulation, it's called out by a character who is disagreeing with it, okay? When they change the rules, they're going, that wasn't how it was originally. Didn't you see that? That it changed. It wasn't that way. Who else is here? Don't you all realize this? Don't you all recognize this? Right? It is the one person that realizes what's going on amidst the sea of everyone else who's blind followers, right? Consequently, the blind followers are the sheep. Okay, you got one sheep who's figuring out and getting a little more bold in the way that he speaks up and stuff. But even him, when they give him pushback, he falls in line. Oh, yes, sir, yes. He's afraid to step out, right? And we see all these kind of things happen during these government societies, groups. It's any kind of like leadership stuff. You could draw analogies to lots of things, right? I think it's supposed to speak on governments, but yeah, so it's a great thing to use to talk to kids about. I don't think this is a movie that you're just gonna say, hey, look, kids, I found a new movie on Netflix, hit play, and that's cool, and they want to watch it all the time or something. I don't think it's one of those kind of movies. I think it's a movie with a purpose, and that purpose is to explain to your kids, talk to your kids. Use it as a catalyst, as a medium. I think that's the right word, that you use in and springboard off that and talk to your kids and have conversations about government, corruption, ego, power, those kind of things, right? Work, freedom, all those kind of terms, what they mean to your family, those kind of things. So I think the 11-year-old age range is justified and pretty accurate. And I think they accomplished what they set out to do. But going into this, parents, this is not your typical regular movie, okay? And if you do take a little kid to see it, they're just probably gonna see all the bad and think that this was a movie just where everything bad happened. It's kind of like some of the war movies or whatever that they make for adults, where it's just like everything bad happened, and then at the end, the main character's like, well, I guess I'm alive. You're just kind of like, that was kind of just sad and oh man, right? I don't like this kind of movies for kids. But if you're giving learning value out of it, okay, I can understand why, but make sure you're getting that learning value out of it, right? Don't just show your kids and just let it be. Have conversations with them. And so let's go over real quick how the movie kind of plays out. In the beginning, the farmer doesn't feed them. He's not taking care of them very well, but they're kind of getting by, but it's bad. And they realize the farmer loses the farm to the bank. Okay, and so the bank comes in, they're going to take all the animals to the slaughterhouse. The animals, once they realize this, they revolt, chase off all the humans. Now they decide to run their own farm. And that's great. They got food, they got that kind of thing. But then the bank comes along and says, you still got to pay us if you want to be here. Now they're farming to sell things as well, which is great. The humans love animals. They love this concept and they give them lots of money. Now the money and the power corrupts. And in the beginning, they had one of the pigs who was mostly just, she was qualities of a leader, but wasn't necessarily their leader. They were just kind of a group of animals, right? And so she establishes this massive quality thing and whatever. But soon the corrupt leader starts coming in and he manipulates and he gets the original leader out. And now he definitely, he becomes an obvious leader, okay? He becomes their form of governing, their governing leader, okay? They look to him for decisions and those kind of things, and he bosses the other ones around. And it becomes, he grabs more and more and more power, especially once the money starts rolling in, right? And then there is this, I guess it would be kind of classism, elitism, but perhaps you could make racism analogies as well, where the pigs are like, well, we get, he's a pig, right? The corrupt leader. Us pigs, we got to stick together. We got to, and so the pigs rise to the top as the leading and governing class. They have all the power, all the money. They do whatever they want. They party all the time. Eventually they get into the alcohol, right? They have as much food as they want. Meanwhile, all the other class of animals, they eventually run out of food. And then that forms like, they start to almost have a complete rebellion, right? They have a rebellion, but the rebellion is squashed a bit. It's not an effective rebellion. Let's say that they get a little disgruntled. They're extremely disgruntled, but it doesn't boil over into a full-blown rebellion where they overthrow the rulers, right? And so it has all these aspects of what we see happen in governments in other countries and stuff. Thank God I live in America, right? And we can pray for those other countries that have stuff going on, right? But these things do happen in the world, and if you want to use this as an opportunity to have an example that your kids can kind of relate to, where you can springboard off of that and have discussions on what's actually happening in different areas of the world, I think this is probably a good movie to do that with. I don't know of another children's movie to do that with, so you know, take that as it is. I foresee like classrooms or homeschool parents showing this to their kids and having discussions on these topics for these kind of things. So after the pigs eventually rise to power, you know, everything's kind of going downhill. The regular animals can't eat. He makes a deal with corrupt corporation, I guess, is how it would be. And they give the regular animals a bad deal. Till finally, the whole time, one of the little pigs is named Lucky. He has like a little brown spot over his eye. Not like an eye patch, just coloration, you know how animals get. Anyway, so Lucky is kind of riding this fence of, he likes to be with the common animals and they're his friends, but they've taken him in under the elites, and he falls in under the elites and he definitely sides with them. But he, and the elites being the pigs, he definitely sides with them, but he sees a lot of the problems. It's just, he doesn't stand up to the problems. He gives some stand up with the mouth, right? And that helps the viewer understand what's going on. And quite frankly, to tell the story, they probably needed that character there so that the viewer understood he's being manipulative right now, because Lucky's going, you're being manipulative, right? So like they make all that kind of stuff obvious, and it's good. So then children can know what's going on. But come the end, Lucky eventually decides that he was in the wrong. Okay, he was on the wrong team, and he leads a revolution to overthrow the corrupt leader pig. And so that's good and all, but it's not. It doesn't hit the same as it does usually in a children's movie where things win and stuff. At the end, there's a massive flood, and you kind of got like this Noah's Ark kind of thing going on here. It didn't flood the whole world, okay? It just flooded it flooded their farm, and they lost a friend along the way and stuff. And it's just kind of like, one of the good characters is just kind of like, okay, now we're back at the beginning, where y'all just had a revolution. Now what are you going to choose? And so I get why they stopped it there, but it doesn't have much of a good out of this. This is, like it says on the poster, a cautionary tale. You watch this movie and it's like, don't do this. Okay, what do I do? I guess that comes from somewhere else, right? So I get it. The movie is based off a book. I've never read the original book. And the movie moves fast, okay? It's not like crazy fast where you're just like, I talked about recently, one of the children's movies, was it Hoppers? No, Mario, Super Mario Brothers movie. You can watch that review. But I talked about how it moved really fast. And so at the end, you're just kind of like, okay, I can, tension gone, because it moved really fast. This one covered a lot of ground, but it didn't have that tense feeling. They just covered a lot of ground. And so they didn't have time to build in what the right thing to do was either, right? But they leave that open-ended. And so definitely something that you want to talk about with your kids, right? The right form of government, or however you, whatever you're looking for on that. So I think that's everything that I want to say about Animal Farm. This is one that is very different from a regular movie. So if you could hit the like button, get it out into the algorithm. Parents need to know that before they go and take their kids to see it, right? See it in the theater. I think this is a movie more suitable for the classroom and the homeschooling family than it is just your kids to sit down and watch it some weeknight, right? In fact, I encourage you to always watch it with your kids and then discuss afterwards. I think that is the entire purpose of the movie, and that is what I recommend. I also do not recommend that your little kids see this. 11 and up, like they say, is probably pretty accurate. So I suggest that you adhere to that. Additionally, if you like kids movie reviews, if you need them because you are a parent or a grandparent, right? Go ahead and get subscribed on YouTube or Rumble. Follow on your favorite social media. I'm on like all of them now. I try to put the entire video, the entire review on every single platform. So just find your favorite platform and go over there and follow over there. But reviewing the new kids movies is something that I do. It is important to me. I want parents to know what are in these movies and whether it is appropriate for their kids to see. I want them to have all that information before they go and step into the theater, or even fire it up on Netflix, right? Whenever they come out there later, or Disney Plus or wherever, right? So there are some big movies coming up later this summer. Toy Story 5, Star Wars' Mando and Grogu, Moana, Minions. There's all sorts of stuff coming out. Oh, Narnia, I think's in the fall. There's lots of movies still this year. Big movies that people are really going to want to see. Movies that may or may not be appropriate to your family. Toy Story. I was not fond of some of the things that they did in the past. I thought this was the last one, right? I thought the last one was the last one. But Pixar has done some sketchy stuff before with the alphabet community, including them, right, in the Lightyear movie. Star Wars has been known for that too, so I'm going to be watching for that. I am a Christian. I also do Christian movies, Christian reviews. I also do Christian videos. So if you're interested in that, also get subscribed for those kind of things as well. But I'm going to be calling out whether I see any alphabet stuff in these movies. So if that is important to you, then get subscribed for that as well. Additionally, you can head over to Illuminating-Shadows. Over there, you'll find my links to my other social medias if you need those. But you're also going to find a list of over 200 children's shows with alphabet stuff. Okay, this is stuff you do not want your kids to watch. Very, very, very popular shows, popular franchises and name brands, Barbie and Transformers and just Star Wars and other stuff, right? So make sure your kids aren't watching any of those shows, but you can find that over at Illuminating-Shadows. Thank you very much for watching this video. You all just have a wonderful and blessed day.